The Light Cleric is one of the strongest builds in Baldur's Gate 3 because of the extremely high utility from Radiating Orb and a number of powerful AoE spells and conditions such as Spirit Guardians, Destroy Undead, Destructive Wave, and Warding Flare. The build truly shines in Act 2 against Undead, but it is a great addition to your party for the entire game thanks to Guidance, Fireball, Remove Curse, Bless, Aid, and so much more. To get started, choose Light Domain at level 1. Light Domain Clerics receive Warding Flare at level 1. This reaction shields you with Divine Light, causing disadvantage on your attacker, possibly causing their attack to miss. This is key for our build, which focuses on generating lots of Radiating Orbs, which further decrease our enemy's chance to hit. For your race, this build is perfect for any type of elf. Wood Elf would be ideal for the increased move speed, but any elf is good because what we really want is Fey Ancestry, so that we cannot be magically put to sleep. This will come in handy later when we use Glyph of Warding Sleep on top of ourselves when we are surrounded by enemies to put them all asleep without falling asleep to it ourselves. Shadowheart is a half elf, so she works perfectly for this build too. However, keep in mind that the Firebolt gained from High Elf or High Half Elf are from the Wizard spell list, and its attack rolls adds your Intelligence modifier, which will be low. When it comes to Act 1, I highly recommend using Produce Flame instead of Firebolt because Produce Flame uses your spellcasting ability modifier, which is Wisdom, instead of Intelligence for its attack roll, so it will hit much more often. Also, Produce Flame's tooltip is actually incorrect in-game on clerics, and it actually deals much more damage than it says at levels 5 and 10. However, when you are attacking undead, if you're going to be using a cantrip, Sacred Flame is the way to go. There's also a necklace called Necklace of Elemental Augmentation, which adds your spellcasting ability modifier to the damage of your cantrip when it deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, so make sure to grab that when you're in the Inquisitor's Chamber in Kresh Yelek to make your Produce Flame even stronger. Produce Flame can also be helpful in Act 2 to provide your party a source of light against the Shadow Curse before you gain protection against it. Also, make sure to get Guidance as your third cantrip, as this will be used very frequently in dialogue and when faced with ability checks. You can also use it preemptively when entering new areas to give yourself a bonus to Nature, Perception, and Religion, or even History ability checks, for example, that can happen when you discover a new area. Now, for your spells, you'll want to choose Guiding Bolt, Command, Bless, and Inflict Wounds. Guiding Bolt grants advantage on the next attack roll against the target creature and deals 2d6 radiant damage. This is your ranged single target damage spell for now, and Inflict Wounds is also great for single target but requires melee range and deals 3d10 necrotic damage. Now, since Inflict Wounds is an attack roll and melee range, you can actually guarantee it's a critical hit by using it on targets that are sleeping or paralyzed from Hold Person. Early on, Bless is also great for improving your team's ability to land attacks, and Command is solid crowd control. You can also use Command to disarm enemies early on. At level 2, you'll gain your first Channel Divinity Charge. This can be used to turn undead, which causes undead creatures to flee in a large area of effect. This will get much stronger at level 5 once we gain Destroy Undead. We also gain Radiance of the Dawn, which uses a Channel Divinity Charge to deal 2d10 plus character level Radiance damage in a large area of effect. Radiant damage is a huge part of this build, so this will be what we use on non-undead creatures for repeatable AoE radiant damage. Make sure to get Healing Word at level 2 because it uses a bonus action and we can save down teammates from a distance without even using an action. At level 3, you'll unlock Scorching Ray. This spell has excellent single target damage. When combined with Phalar Aluve's Shriek, you can gain 1d4 thunder damage on each ray, meaning 3 to 12 thunder damage added total. Since this spell deals fire damage 3 times, it is paired perfectly with the Hat of Fire Acuity, granting 2 turns of Arcane Acuity each time you deal fire damage. Each turn of Arcane Acuity grants you a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save DC. Since you'll have 6 turns of Arcane Acuity, that is +6 to spell attack rolls and spell save DC, virtually guaranteeing your spells to succeed. Hold Person is a great follow-up to guarantee your Paladin or even your own Inflict Wounds will be a critical strike on that target. And you can find the Hat of Fire Acuity on the corpse of the Strange Ox in Act 2 or 3, but not in Act 1, so make sure not to slay the ox until later. Scorching Ray also synergizes very well with Coruscation Ring, which applies Radiating Orb on creatures that the wearer deals spell damage to. Scorching Ray deals multiple instances of damage, which means multiple Radiating Orbs can be created from a single cast. At level 4, choose Resistance for your cantrip, and for your spells you'll want Guiding Bolt, Inflict Wounds, Sanctuary, Bless, Healing Word, Cure Wounds, and Hold Person. For your feat, you'll want to get Warcaster. This amazing feat grants advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on a spell. We'll want this for when we get Spirit Guardians at level 5. Since we'll be in close range dealing damage, we'll likely be getting hit and we won't want to lose concentration on Spirit Guardians. You'll also gain the ability to use Shocking Grasp as a reaction when enemies leave melee range, which they tend to do to escape Spirit Guardians. This Shocking Grasp benefits from your Wisdom modifier, so it's also much better than if you'd get the cantrip, and Shocking Grasp makes your target unable to take reactions, and it has advantage on creatures with metal armor. At level 5, you'll get a massive power spike. Light Clerics automatically learn Fireball and Daylight. Fireball deals massive AoE damage and synergizes well with your Hat of Fire Acuity. Your cantrips will also gain an additional damage die. Produce Flame now deals 2d8 fire damage, even if the tooltip says otherwise, and Sacred Flame now deals 2d8 radiant damage. You also gain an incredibly powerful passive feature called Destroy Undead. Whenever you successfully turn an undead creature, it also takes 4d6 radiant damage. This is a huge amount of radiant damage. Our Turn Undead action uses a Channel Divinity charge to turn all undead in a large radius around us. This will now deal AoE radiant damage thanks to Destroy Undead. However, there is another source of turning undead that you'll want for this build. Gandrel's Inspiration is an uncommon heavy crossbow which grants Sacred Munitions. Infuse your crossbow bolts with holy energy. For the rest of your turn, your ranged attacks inflict turned against undead. This hidden weapon action is perfect for our Cleric. Use Sacred Munitions right before shooting an arrow of many targets, which causes your ranged attack to ricochet to nearby targets, including targets that are invisible or protected by Sanctuary, and every single undead hit by your arrow of many targets will become turned and take 4d6 radiant damage. This is absolutely amazing. And what's great about Sacred Munitions is that it has a 100% chance to turn undead because there is no saving throw to resist it. You'll find Gandrel's Inspiration on Gandrel right outside Auntie Ethel's gnarled tea house in Act 1. And as a side note, you don't need to be proficient with heavy crossbows in order to use Sacred Munitions. It's possible this is not intended, as you usually need to be proficient with a weapon in order to use its weapon actions. For spells, replace Bless with Spirit Guardians and choose Glyph of Warding as your 8th spell. Spirit Guardians will be the primary spell we concentrate on and is the main reason we chose Warcaster at level 4. Spirit Guardians deal 3d8 radiant or necrotic damage per turn to enemies within its radius. Since it's a pretty small radius, we'll be running from enemy to enemy to activate this damage to them. To complement this strategy, we'll want 2 pieces of equipment: the Holy Lance Helm and the Boots of Speed. Holy Lance Helm causes creatures who miss their attack rolls against the wearer to possibly take 1d4 radiant damage, and Boots of Speed grants a bonus action called Click Heals, doubling your movement speed and inflicts disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you. This allows you to run around hitting everyone with Spirit Guardians while also triggering missed opportunity attacks, which will deal even more radiant damage to them. The Luminous set fits in perfectly here as well. Luminous armor and gloves both cause Radiating Orb when the wearer deals radiant damage, and Radiating Orb reduces the affected entity's attack rolls by 1 per turn of Radiating Orb, and the max is 7 turns. Adamantine Shield is also great here for reeling. When a target misses you with a melee attack, they are sent reeling for 2 turns, and reeling gives -1 to attack rolls for each turn remaining. Shield Bash is also working again as of patch 6, letting you use it as a reaction when hit to force an enemy prone. The other spell, Glyph of Warding, is ideal for Area of Effect Sleep. Attacks made in melee range against the sleeping target will be automatic critical hits, and crowd control in general is very powerful. If you are surrounded by enemies, you can cast this directly on yourself, and because you are an elf, we are immune to sleep thanks to Fey Ancestry. At level 6, we'll gain improved Warding Flare. We can now use our reaction to protect an ally, giving the attacker disadvantage on the attack roll aimed at our ally. We also gain a second Channel Divinity charge, allowing for more Radiance of the Dawn or Turn Undead. I like to pick up Remove Curse here as well. But at level 7, it's time to head to Withers for a class change. We'll be starting out this time around as a Sorcerer for proficiency and Constitution saving throws. Proficiency combined with Warcaster's advantage on concentrating saving throws means we should almost never lose concentration on Spirit Guardians or whatever spell we might be concentrating on. For your cantrips, choose Minor Illusion to gather enemies up before combat, Blade Ward for resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage before combat starts. You can use Light to ensure whoever is using Callous Glow Ring in your party that they have a light source, and Friends for advantage on charisma checks. Now for your spells, you'll want to choose Shield and False Life. Shield can be used as a reaction to increase your armor class by 5 until your next turn. It's incredibly powerful since your only prompted to use it when you would otherwise get hit, and it fits perfectly for our build because we don't want to get hit, we want to get all those misses. False Life is a necromancy spell that can be upcasted to grant 27 temporary hit points without using any spell slots. By equipping the Staff of Cherished Necromancy and slaying anything, you'll get a condition called Life Essence, which you can activate to make your next necromancy spell not cost spell slots. This can be repeated an infinite number of times, essentially letting you reapply this at will for free. We'll also activate Life Essence anytime we use Inflict Wound, upcast it as high as we possibly can for maximum damage. For your subclass, choose Storm Sorcery. This gives us access to Tempestuous Magic, which allows us to use Fly after casting a spell. The Fly gained from Tempestuous Magic is unlike any other because it doesn't use up your movement speed. It instead costs a bonus action. This is essentially 30 feet of extra movement speed at the cost of a bonus action. This is perfect because we want to apply Spirit Guardians to all enemies, which may be spread out. Once you have one level in Sorcerer, we're going to put the rest of our levels back into Light Cleric, following the same build we had from levels 1 through 6. Next, we're going to be putting the remaining 5 levels into Light Cleric as well. So at level 8, you're going to unlock Banishment. This causes you to temporarily banish your target to another plane of existence. This control spell has some really nice utility. In Act 3, if a Steel Watcher is self-destructing, you can banish it and the explosion will be completely nullified. This can potentially save your party from a lot of damage, since the Steel Watcher will typically immobilize your party through its linear area of effect maim ability and then self-destruct right on top of you. The same idea can also be used against Answer right before his Gathering Power ability will go off, so instead of running for cover, you can just cast Banishment on Answer and some other plane of existence will have to worry about that. And remember, use your Hat of Fire Acuity with Scorching Ray to dramatically increase your spell save DC against tough bosses. At level 9, we'll be getting our 8th level of Cleric. Choose Ability Improvement to bring your Wisdom to 18 and Constitution to 16. I like Aid for upcasting party-wide increased hit points and Lesser Restoration to get rid of any diseases or blindness. At level 10, we get Destructive Wave and Flame Strike. Destructive Wave deals 5d6 thunder damage, and depending on the variant, it will also deal 5d6 radiant or necrotic damage as well in a very large area of effect. This spell can also knock all your targets prone, granting advantage on your attacks against them. We'll be using this against large groups of enemies. And at level 11, we'll gain Divine Intervention. I would save this just in case for Opulent Revival, which resurrects fallen companions and restores nearby allies as if they had long rested. If you're doing an honor run, this can definitely save your run. But if you're on the Nether Brain, it's time to stop saving it for later and just use it for something so you get some value out of it. Also at level 11, your cantrips will now deal 3d8 damage, and you also get to choose another cantrip. And then finally, at level 12, you gain access to a number of powerful 6th level spells. You'll want to choose Heal, Harm, and Planner Ally, as well as Hero's Feast. You can use Markohashir and Staff of Spell Power to cast these level 6 spells for free. The Planner Ally is quite strong, so I recommend summoning the Deva when you can by using one of those 2 staves for the free cast. Alternatively, you can have a Hireling Cleric buff your party with Hero's Feast and save yourself a spell slot and prepare something else. Since Harm is a necromancy spell, we can cast it for free each turn with Life Essence. This deals 14d6 necrotic and reduces the target's maximum HP by the damage inflicted by the Harm spell. This is a very powerful single target spell, especially when we're casting it for free. And next, let's just talk briefly about some of the gear we'll want for this build. We talked about some of it previously, but there are some extra pieces. So for your Helm, as we discussed, you'll want the Hat of Fire Acuity for improving your spell save DC against bosses, and Holy Lance Helm for dealing radiant damage when an enemy misses you in melee range. The Hat of Fire Acuity can be found on the Strange Ox when you slay it in Act 2 or 3, and the Holy Lance Helm can be found on the roof of the Rosymourn Monastery. For your Cloak, you're going to want the Cloak of Displacement. This gives enemies disadvantage on their attack rolls against the wearer, which is huge. You can buy this from Entharl Danthelion in Danthelon's Dancing Axe in Worm's Crossing. Alternatively, Cloak of the Weave is another option, but if another party member is using that already, Cloak of Protection is also good. For your armor, Luminous Armor is great. The armor grants Radiating Shockwave when the wearer deals damage. They cause a Radiant Shockwave, which inflicts Radiating Orb in a 10-foot radius around the wearer. Radiating Orb gives the affected entity -1 to attack rolls per remaining turn. This armor is found in a locked and trapped opulent chest in the Selûnite outpost in the Underdark. The chest is hidden behind a hidden door, revealed by a perception check, or it can be accessed by jumping from the room with a waypoint in it. For your glove, gloves, Luminous gloves are perfect. These gloves grant Radiating Orb. When the wearer deals radiant damage, the target receives 1 turn of Radiating Orb, and Radiating Orb again gives the affected entity -1 to attack rolls per remaining turn. The Luminous gloves are found inside the Potter's chest in the ruined battlefield, accessible by jumping. And for your boots, Boots of Speed are ideal. Boots of Speed grant a bonus action called Click Heals, doubling your movement speed, and it inflicts disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you. This allows you to run around hitting everyone with Spirit Guardians while also triggering missed opportunity attacks, which will deal even more radiant damage to them. These boots are worn by Thola in the Myconid colony, and she gives them to you as thanks for curing her of the Duergar poison in the quest Cure the Poison Gnome. If you saved the elixir of Sylvanas that Nettie gave you, that can be used to cure Thola. Otherwise, the Duergar antidote and antitoxin spells such as Lesser Restoration and Protection from Poison, as well as the Paladin ability Lay on Hands, will also all cure her in order to get these boots. Now, for your first amulet, I like the Necklace of Elemental Augmentation. This amulet adds your spellcasting ability modifier to the damage of your cantrip when it deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. So make sure to grab that when you're in the Inquisitor's Chamber in Kresh Yelik to make your Produce Flame even stronger. You can find this amulet inside a display case there. However, the best amulet for this build is the Amulet of the Devout, which grants +2 to spell save DC, and you gain an additional channel divinity charge. And even though the tooltip says it is restored upon long rest, all of your charges, including this bonus one, will come back from a short rest. For your first ring, you're going to want the Coruscation Ring, which applies 2 turns of Radiating Orb on creatures that the wearer deals spell damage to. Scorching Ray synergizes very well with this because Scorching Ray deals damage multiple times, which means many turns of Radiating Orbs can be created from a single cast. And this ring can be found in a trapped heavy chest in the Cellar of Last Light Inn. For your second ring, you'll want the Callous Glow Ring. The wearer of this ring deals an additional 2 points of radiant damage against creatures that are illuminated. This is added to every instance of Scorching Ray, allowing you to get a ton of value out of it, and it is also applied to every bonus thunder damage from Phalar Aluve's Shriek 2, but that is not the case in Honor mode. This ring is contained inside an opulent chest in the Vault Room near Balthazar inside the Gauntlet of Shar. And for your weapon, Phalar Aluve is just the best because of the benefits for your entire party from Phalar Aluve Shriek, and because we made our Light Cleric to be in the front lines applying Spirit Guardians, having tons of mobility and constantly reducing enemies' chance to hit them, they are simply the best choice to wield Phalar Aluve. And for your ranged weapon, you'll want Gandrel's Inspiration. This is an uncommon heavy crossbow which grants Sacred Munitions. Infuse your crossbow bolts with holy energy. For the rest of your turn, your ranged attacks inflict turned against undead. This hidden weapon action is perfect for our cleric. Use Sacred Munitions right before shooting an arrow of many targets, which causes your ranged attack to ricochet to nearby targets, including targets that are invisible or protected by Sanctuary, and every single undead hit by your arrow of many targets will become turned and take 4d6 radiant damage thanks to our Destroy Undead feat. This is absolutely amazing. And what's great about Sacred Munitions is that it has a 100% chance to turn undead because there is no saving throw to resist it. You'll find Gandrel's Inspiration on Gandrel right outside Auntie Ethel's gnarled tea house in Act 1. And as a side note, you don't need to be proficient with heavy crossbows in order to use Sacred Munitions. It is possible that this is not intended because you usually do need to be proficient with a weapon in order to use its weapon actions. And that's the build. Hopefully this is the best Light Cleric build you have ever seen, and if so, please give it a like and subscribe as it helps me out a ton. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.